These are the Arctic Archives. I'm Josh Federico. In this episode, I have a phone conversation with Temple Dillard, a Yupik native out of Fairbanks. We discuss his upbringing in Twin Hills and Bristol Bay, his experience trapping, sewing, and selling fur, and taking kids along for his outdoor adventures. Here's our conversation. Enjoy. But yeah, so you grew up out in Bristol Bay, is that right?
Yep, a little village called Twin Hills in Togiak Bay, across the bay from Togiak.
Okay. And you were there till you left for school?
I went to Mount Edgecombe High School. Twin Hills didn't have a high school at the time.
Okay.
So it was, go live with family in a village that had a high school or go to Mount Edgecombe, a boarding school in Sitka. So I went to Edgecombe, and I still went back for the summers and Christmas, and then graduated from high school and came to Fairbanks for college. Never left.
Right. Okay. So you've been in Fairbanks since college then?
Yeah, since the fall of 2005.
Okay.
Me and my wife, we were dating at the time. We went to Sitka for a couple summers, 06 and 07, I think.
Yep.
Where I deckhanded on a charter boat for a couple of seasons, and that was cool.
Yeah, okay. So you guys pretty happy with Fairbanks, or do you ever think about heading back to Bristol Bay area?
Just by the ocean. It'd be nice to be by the ocean. I miss the stink of low tide and saltwater fishing.
Yeah.
And I grew up commercial fishing, gill netting for salmon and long lining for halibut. And
okay.
There's just stuff I miss about living on the ocean.
Yeah, so you guys were pretty involved in the outdoors activity then growing up?
Yeah, we commercial fished, subsistence fished, and hunted lots of ptarmigan, missed a lot of seals.
Okay, nice.
It was a hell of a cool way to grow up.
Yeah.
There was always something to hunt or fish. I didn't trap back then. I wish I did. But,
yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's hindsight. So that's cool. So you guys did mainly a lot of hunting and fishing, but pretty much year-round down in that area. There's a lot to do, and a little bit more moderate climate than Fairbanks, too, I'd understand.
Yeah. When I was younger, there was lots of snow, and it would freeze out on the bay, and you could snow machine out on the bay a little bit. And then I got into high school. It seemed like the winters got real mild.
Okay.
There was less snow, and I remember boating between Twin Hills and Togiak in the winter on Christmas break.
Oh, wow.
And before high school, it didn't seem like that happened very often.
Yeah.
There might have been an off season, but I mean, when you think about how short a span that was, those 10 years I was paying attention, 12 years I was paying attention back there. I don't know. It was windy. That was the thing out there, was the wind.
Okay.
It was just so freaking windy. In Fairbanks, when we first got here, it wasn't very windy. And now it's not so much a surprise on windy days. It is disappointing, but
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was an experience we had moving. We're in Delta Junction, so
that's windy out there.
It's quite windy. The day after we moved here, it blew so hard, everyone lost power, and we were sitting up here, didn't really know anyone. We were like, what have we done? This is crazy. So, and we stayed. That's been almost 3 years ago. So, but yeah, so you've been in Fairbanks for a little bit, and you have a family now. I was watching some of your YouTube videos. It's pretty cool, involving your kids, and looks like just about everything you do outdoors.
I try.
Yeah.
It's difficult and stressful as hell, because it used to be, when I go trapping alone, it's just me I'm worried about.
Yeah.
But you start bringing brats along, and you need 37 pairs of extra gloves and foot warmers and
yeah.
But man, when they're along and it goes good, you'll get to take pictures of them with fur, and
yeah.
It's freaking awesome when things go well and they're along.
Yeah. And what a great experience for them too, being able to grow up and when they're older say, yeah, my dad took me and we trapped lynx or whatever it is, whatever else it is, which not a lot of kids are going to have that, as time progresses.
Yeah, less now than there used to be.
Right. So I assume there was a lot of trapping and living off the land culture handed down from your family, or how did that work in that area?
My grandpa trapped a little, but there weren't many trappers back home when I was a kid.
Okay.
There was one guy in Togiak I could think of that was still trapping. There on occasion you'd hear of someone trying to do it, but it's a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It's hard to, and it
Hmm.
was tidal there.
Yeah.
So if you were trying to beaver trap, you'd have to get way upriver or find a spot that's not affected by the tide.
Gotcha.
So everything be moving up and down, weather. And there wasn't anybody that made a living on it in Twin Hills or Togiak by the time I was around.
Yeah.
People were opportunistic. They'd shoot beaver and otter when they saw them.
Yeah.
Wolverine when they saw them, but there wasn't. I don't recall many people trapping. There was one guy that would trap beaver and otter. My cousin would trap a little bit, but he was still young and in school. I guess he traps a little more now. I don't know for sure.
Sure.
But he lives somewhere else. He moved to Lower Yukon somewhere to his wife's family.
Okay.
Emo or Scannon Bay or something. I can't remember.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I haven't visited that part of the state. What's the say moose and caribou population through there? Do they even have? I assume they have moose, but I'm not sure if they'd have caribou down through there.
So when in Togiak Bay in that area, when I was growing up, there were moose and there were caribou, but there weren't as many moose then as there are now.
Okay.
And every moose that stood still too long.
Yeah.
Every moose and caribou that stood still too long near the village would end up in somebody's freezer.
Fair enough.
And I think that's the Cape Newenham herd.
Okay.
And there were years when they were walking by the pike ponds and people be taking their mini 14s pike fishing.
Yeah.
And then there were years where you never saw caribou. You didn't see a track. You didn't see poop.
Wow.
They're caribou. They are where they are when
Right.
you find them there. Some years you'd be up on a ridge ptarmigan hunting, and the ground below you would start moving, shimmering, and you'd be like, "What in the hell? Oh, wait a minute! That's a herd of 1 million caribou.
All
That's
right.
not the ground."
Okay. So it just depends on the migration then.
Yeah, and I guess more moose have showed up. Yeah, I don't know why there weren't more. I mean, I could take a guess why there weren't more moose.
Yeah.
Because they were getting shot if people didn't see an airplane flying.
Yeah. That would do it.
And but it's good moose habitat there. Lots of willow.
Yeah.
Lots of cottonwood. Lots of nice, good browse, and they're just. I don't know what happened, but it seems like there's more moose now than there used to be.
Interesting. Do you know if the predator population has changed much? Brown bears and wolves especially?
I'm not certain. We saw plenty of wolves and bear.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what happened. People shot every bear that held still.
Okay.
It was just the way it was.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
Yeah, it's understandable. So then how far back do you know your family lineage goes in that area?
Well, my grandpa, my mom's dad, my dad is from North Carolina.
Okay.
He heard of work at a cannery and on a whim went up there, and I think the early 80s. Met my mom she was working at the egg house at the cannery.
Okay.
Cooking up salmon eggs. But my grandpa, he's from Queen Hawk, little bit further north.
Okay.
And my grandma, she was born in a little village that ain't there no more, out west of Togiak, near Tongue Point, the other side of the Tongue Point.
Okay.
I used to know the name of it, and she'd pointed it out on a map to my wife. I think it was on the Matuluk River, but I'm not certain.
Okay.
So my grandpa and grandma, natives, you could say they were there for 1,000 years.
Oh, wow.
I guess.
Wow.
Whenever the Asians crossed the land bridge,
Right.
and stopped living right there.
Okay. Yeah, that's very cool. So then was that kind of the dominant culture growing up, was from that side of the family?
Yeah, Yupik Eskimo. There were a couple of white guys out there. Came there for work or who, just the normal reason white people go to Alaska at the time, looking for work or looking for something different.
Yeah.
My dad had worked on oil fields. He sold tools out of the back of a semi.
Okay.
He, ditch digging, fence building, all kinds of work, back in the lower 48 before he came to Alaska and decided he wasn't going back.
Yeah.
My grandpa was interesting as hell. I wish I could have I wish they had taught me Yupik and that I'd spoke to him more, because he saw the last, like, people will say, no, there's still dog teams today. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, there are. But he saw the last of the dog teams, right? Like, everybody had dogs because that's how you got places.
Right.
He saw the last of those and the first snow machines.
Okay. Huh.
He saw the last sailing boats for commercial fishing and the first motorboats for commercial fishing.
Wow. So he witnessed the transition from old Alaska to basically what it is now.
Yeah. It would. I wish I could have talked to him more. It'd have been cool to write some of that crap down.
Yeah, that's cool. So then you ended up in Fairbanks. You've been there since. You've just been tearing it up, hunting and fishing and getting into some trapping.
Well, trying to.
Yeah.
Trying to. It's a giant pain in the neck to work 40 hours a week, pay your bills, and then still have time to go hunting, fishing, and trapping.
Yep. Yeah, that is true. So you mentioned, I was reading a little bit of your things. You started when the fur market kind of took a dip. You started just making your own fur products instead of selling.
Well, so it's been a roller coaster. You talk to some of the older guys, and they'd be like, the last time the fur prices were as good was in the 80s or whatever they say. But there was a marten boom here a few years ago, and then a bunch of the Chinese that were buying it got put in jail, so that crashed. I don't catch very much fur, and I can't stand the idea of selling, the 6 lynx and the dozen marten, whatever I catch.
Right.
I can't stomach the idea of selling a lynx for $130, $150. And sure, you can top lot it and get way more than that.
Sure.
But I can't do that. I can't stomach selling it for what it sells for. So I make hats and mitts and scarves, and I've done a few custom projects that were ridiculous. Like I made a beaver blanket for a guy this past winter that just was ridiculous.
Huh.
It was out of their beaver, thank goodness.
Okay. How many beavers?
I don't know. I know I didn't count how many beaver. Wow. It was so they gave me something like 30 some beaver, and I used just about every one. I didn't count how many beaver went into the blanket because I gave them a couple of whole beaver back. Okay. I don't remember for sure.
Right.
But it was like 7 feet long, 8 feet wide. And I'd have never done that if I didn't have a fur sewing machine, a bonus fur sewing machine.
Yeah.
I don't know how many miles of thread went into that. It was a giant pain in the neck.
Wow. Yeah, I've looked a little bit into it. It seems very involved to have to sew fur like that. And the machines that you get, as you know, are it seemed a little bit hard to come by and a little bit extra expensive unless you do it by hand, which is just a lot of time.
I sewed by hand for more than 10 years.
Okay.
And it's like when I got really good at it, it would, if I didn't have to look for the patterns, from when I made the first cut to the last knot on a hat, say it would be 4 hours.
Oh, okay.
But the first one might have taken 8 or 10.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, if I got to sort around and find the patterns, that time don't count.
Yeah.
But
right.
I need to organize my shop. It's a wreck. But when I've got 2 different fur sewing machines, and one of them's a bonus A, which is for thin stuff. I still can't use them. I paid a local guy, Jose, at the fur factory to refurbish it, and then I watched him run it like a machine gun, and he'd be sewing just freaking great.
Yeah.
And I can't sew with the damn thing. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Gotcha.
But I got a bonus B for thicker fur, and I can sew with that. I can sew beaver with that. I've sewn a little bit of wolf and wolverine with it for some custom hats I've made for people.
Yeah.
I can sew with the bonus B, which is great for beaver. Lynx and marten there are thicker parts of a lynx that are good on the bonus B, but then there are thinner parts that the bonus A would be better suited for. And I can't get that bonus A to. So seal, sea otter, beaver on the bonus B. So if I don't have to find the dang patterns, I can make a hat with sewing machines in an hour and a half.
Okay.
From the first cut to the last knot.
Wow.
And it's really something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's impressive for sure. So do you sell a lot of them, or is it kind of for by word of mouth? Or do you advertise?
I do a little bit of advertising. The Facebook marketplace is hit or miss. I do local bazaars and events and stuff. My wife used to try to run an Etsy page, but there are buzzwords on there that we just didn't have any luck with.
Yeah.
Like our first stuffs would get flagged and erased from Etsy. We had a Square website for a little bit.
Yeah.
Those things have gotten easier to run, I guess.
Okay.
So I might have to try that again. But Etsy is supposed to do a fur ban, and like race is this super big ass buzzword, and people are getting canceled for saying quote unquote racist things, and then they go and want to ban fur, and I'm thinking that is actually racist.
Yeah.
That's like mechanically. That's how can you mechanically? That's racist. What are you doing? That's
funny. Yeah, because that's a whole long-standing part of native culture, especially is fur.
Like all the little old ladies that whose grandkids are trying to get them onto the internet. Like the best sewers are the little old grandmas, and you're wanting to make it even harder for these little old native ladies to sell their stuffs.
Yeah.
It pisses me right off.
Wow. So I didn't know they had a ban on fur. That's kind of
it's coming.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if it's. I don't know when it's supposed to go into effect. 26 or 27, maybe, if I remember what I saw on the. That's how you know it's true, is you saw it on the social media, right? So, and it's all such a crock.
Yeah.
They're in one breath they're saying save the turtles, don't drink with a plastic straw, but no, you can't use fur, you got to use plastic underwear.
Yeah.
Like, okay. There's some cognitive dissonance right here.
These things
don't make any sense.
No, that's unfortunate. And that's just Etsy, you said?
That's as far as I know, but I've had like our Lynx stuff, seal and sea otter stuff, all of that stuff would end up, those items, those listings would get scrubbed from Etsy when we tried to have that store because Lynx is
Oh,
endangered. You can't be selling that. Like, hang on. Sure, it's endangered where you guys have put up cities and farms, but
exactly.
right here, there's no bag limit on them.
Right. Yeah, that's true. There isn't.
And this seal right here, you're talking to a genuine native guy who can sell this crap.
Yeah.
Why you making my life more difficult?
Right. Man. So far you've had the most success with just word of mouth then.
Yeah, word of mouth and in-person sales at
Right.
bazaars and
Oh, yeah. Okay.
little outdoor shows. I've been in on a couple of big events at the Carlson Center,
Oh, yeah.
and those are hit or miss. Like that can cover a lot of bills, or it could just be another darn bill.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, hopefully that picks up a little bit, and maybe if you get back around to Square or some of the other site management things, they work a little bit better.
Yeah, I gotta figure something out because I got a couple of totes full of stuff right now that
Oh.
nobody's buying.
Oh. Yeah, just got to be in front of the right audience, I guess.
I reckon so. I don't know who that is because I sell some stuff here in town, but I
Okay.
need to sell more. I bought a new snow machine last winter.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'd seen somebody was selling fur in one of the feed stores off College, past Costco.
Alaska Feed Company.
I
I
think
seen
so.
some stuff in there.
Yep.
Sue's Custom Furs, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah, and probably someone else too, but
Okay.
Sue's is who I remember.
Yeah.
And that's cool. The thing about putting them in a store is you're selling them on consignment, or you got to
Right.
figure out a wholesale that they pay you, and then of
Oh.
course they mark it up and they get the difference. And
Right.
I'm not saying that's wrong. They're providing a service by having a venue for the damn thing to hang in front of people
Yeah.
all the time. I'm just, I trapped it. I sewed
Yeah.
it. I should get that. But, I'm not trying to talk shit about
Oh, no.
the feed company or anybody else that marks it up for a consignment, because they are providing a service. They're
Yeah.
hanging it in front of people. I'm not prepared to do that right now, which, that might be part of why I'm not selling stuff. It's a pain in the neck. It's all a pain in the neck.
Yeah. For sure. Speaking of selling, I noticed you mentioned you became a Swamp Runner mud motor dealer some time ago.
I sell Swamp Runner Longtail complete mud motors and
Okay.
kits if you want to assemble your own, if you want to buy your own motor or tear your own motor off a water pump or
Yep.
or whatever and put it on a Longtail kit.
Yeah.
I bought my first, so I used to have a Honda 8-horse outboard and a jackass lift
Yep.
on a square stern freighter canoe. And that's how I got my first 2 moose home.
Okay.
And that, I don't know how I didn't die.
Okay.
Because in one hand you got the tiller, and the other hand you got the lever for the jackass lift to lift the motor straight up, not tilt it, but lift it straight up. And I'd have that sympathetic response where I'd be pushing down on the tiller instead of the lever, or trying to turn the lift instead of the tiller. And the leaves in the fall time, the leaves are falling off the trees. That'd plug the water intake. So you'd be worried about seizing your water-cooled engine.
Right.
And I needed something different. I wanted something different. So I looked up mud motors. They're air-cooled. You're not worried about burning up an impeller.
Yep.
I settled on Swamp Runner for the weight savings, and of those style of longtails, the tie style longtails, they were heavier built at the time. There was things about them that were more heavy duty,
Okay.
but they also didn't weigh what American style longtails weighed, and they would come in a 6-horse engine that I could put on a freighter canoe. So that's what I did, and it was life changing. Air cooled, not worried about burning up the engine.
Yeah.
One lever, the tiller, and the prop sits higher up in the water column than the bottom of the boat. If
Yeah.
the boat would slide, the motor would push it. It
Right.
changed my damn life. So I asked the swamp runner guy, hey, this was awesome. Can I be a dealer? It'd be cool to be a dealer and share this crap with people. And
Mm-hmm.
there's I don't know how many I've sold, and they're cool as heck, but there's still they didn't make as big a splash as I thought they would. People
Oh,
are still want their jets and
yeah.
their go fast. I'm like, okay,
Right.
yeah, you go for it.
Yeah. I know a few people running mud motors, different brands.
Uh-huh.
I've got one. A couple of my buddies have a few different styles. So yeah, I know they're around, but for the most part, I see people running jets. I don't
Well,
have one. I don't know how I feel about them, but I've been happy with the mud motor.
I've got a Go Devil 35 and I like it a lot. And I've got a 35 Swamp Runner that I like a lot for different things. And I've got a 7-horse Swamp Runner that I really like on my small boats.
Hmm.
I've got an 18-horse medium Swamp Runner for sale.
Nice.
That's on my kid's 14-foot boat. It's lots of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And they're sort of a, I don't want to call them a niche thing because they're good at lots of things, but they're just on the style of hulls we have here. They're not as fast as a bigger jet. And a
Yeah.
jet will go maybe a hair shallower, but it has to go so fast, and you're worried about the water pump. You're worried about sucking stuff up in the impeller
Yep.
through the cooling system. They're loud. They use more gas. Yeah, but
Yeah.
sure, they go faster.
Yeah. No, I've seen the practicality of just using mine for the short time that I've had it. I'm sold on them. They make perfect sense. So, 'cause obviously in a lot of these rivers, you're in a long stretch where you could use a regular outboard. Then you hit a wide stretch where that's kind of gravelly. And if I'm with a buddy, he's got to stop and row, and I'm just skim right over it, good to go. So, and then yeah, fuel consumption wise too, like I do great. I've got a little Honda, like 13 horse on mine, does great on fuel versus a jet boat is just burning through. Especially right now, that gets expensive.
Yeah, so I duck hunt with a buddy who has it's a 4030 Yamaha,
Oh
I
yeah,
think, jet, and yeah, I can do so many more trips in the
yeah.
same amount of gas, but his boat is faster and it will go a little bit shallower.
Okay. Huh.
But I can go more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ain't worried about mud and I ain't worried about weeds. I'm gonna chew right through
Yep.
all that crap.
Yep. No, they're handy for sure. Yeah. So I again looking at some of your stuff online. You've done a little bit of hunting with a longbow, or did I maybe see that wrong?
Recurve. A
Oh,
recurve.
recurve. Okay.
Yeah. Either way, they're traditional bows, no sights. I pull with my fingers.
Yeah. Okay.
I had a compound, and as cool as it was to be shooting pop cans at 30 yards, on day one with the sights and the trigger release and so on, it didn't turn my crank as hard as when I finally got a decent. My first one might have been a fiberglass longbow. It doesn't matter. They were all cheap traditional bows that I was pulling with my fingers. That crap was so much fun.
Yeah.
It's still, God, that's fun watching the arrow fly. And even if I miss that grouse or that rabbit, it's fun. If I miss a grouse with the 22 or even worse with the shotgun, that's not any fun. That just makes me angry and it could ruin the day. But if I miss a grouse with the flew on a bow and arrow, I still got to watch the arrow fly. And hey, I don't have to clean a grouse.
Yeah, it's a win-win. Okay.
Yeah, if I was hungry though, I'd use a shotgun.
Oh, fair enough.
There's no denying the recurve is just fun. That's all there is to it. If I was hungry, I'd use a rifle or a shotgun.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. So when you're going out to actually put meat in the freezer, you're not bringing the traditional bow.
No, I don't screw around with that if I'm serious.
Yep. That makes sense.
When we go on what I call the long hunt with the with the kids, we go out for 10 days or so trying to get a moose. I'm not bringing my recurve.
Yep.
I bring a rifle. Although as my kids get older and more capable, maybe I'll bring the recurve and let them fill the freezer and see if I can get something to walk up close.
Yeah, for
We'll
sure.
see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So how old were your kids when they started tagging along for all your various activities?
They were still in diapers.
Hmm.
It's a pain in the neck. It's way easier to take them when they can pee and poop.
Yeah.
Not in a diaper.
Right.
But so my oldest one, he'd come hunting and fishing in the summer and fall. Ever since Mama would let me take him, he'd be in a backpack.
Yep.
All my kids have gone hunting in the backpack or in a stroller. I pushed a stroller through the woods grouse hunting.
All right.
I when when my daughter was first born, she might not have even been one. She was born in August, so she would have been one, or almost one, because the next year I was pushing her in a stroller with my boys. We had 22s and shotguns.
Oh, right on.
Those sticking out of the stroller. Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, since they were in diapers, since Mama would let me take them.
Right. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's cool. And like we said earlier, that's cool for them to, whether they stick around and continue that or not, when they're older, they have those memories, and that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'd wrap them up in beaver furs, to keep them warm. One morning I was going trapping and I didn't quite make it out before Aiden, my oldest, woke up. He comes stomping into the kitchen, with wearing his diaper, and he's like, "You going trapping, Daddy?" "Yeah, I'm going trapping." "I go trapping with you." No, son, you're not coming." "I go trapping with you, Daddy."
Oh,
All right,
awesome.
fine. Let me make you some breakfast. So I took my gear back off and make a big breakfast and let the day warm up a little bit.
Yeah.
When we went trapping, he's liked going since he knew what was going on.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's pretty awesome. It is a little more logistically complicated doing any of that stuff with kids, but I mean, I think it's just cool to share that with them.
Yeah, and I had to shorten the trap line a little bit to bring them with for a few years, but now that they're bigger, we're gonna stretch the line back out.
Nice.
I had a wooden box that I would put blankets in and cover them in the sled so that they'd be warm. Like I got pictures and video. There's video of them, riding in the sled when they're 4, 5, 6 years old, covered up in a caribou hide once, I think.
That's cool. Yeah, I love it.
They would go.
Yep, exactly. And they all survived, and it is what it is. Yeah, so I looked around on your YouTube channel a little bit leading up to this. So what got you into starting that, and how's that going for you?
Me and my wife were living in Esther, and we had made some friends from back home in Dillingham, and their parents would come visit, and he traps and they both sew. And we'd sit at the Festival of Native Arts or AFN. We'd sit with them and talk and, back home stuff, fishing, hunting, and trapping and sewing. And I wanted to get out. I was stuck to the road, stuck in the dorm room, or stuck in the cabin we were renting in Esther. And the winters are real long here, and I wanted to get out and trap. And I said to my wife, "Hey, if I trap, you can sew. We could be like, Todd and Annie Fritzy. They're the ones who helped me get into sewing. If I trap, you could sew." And she goes, "If you want to trap, you sew."
Okay.
I'm like, "All right, fine." So I worked my way into it. I was walking from my truck. I don't think I caught a damn thing except red squirrels for the first couple of years. I think there was a cat slump going on. And because I was trapping out of my truck, I couldn't get very far.
Gotcha.
And I was trapping a logging road. I did have a lynx walking around, but he never got caught.
Mm.
I think he put his elbow in a trap once and
Oh,
pulled out.
learned.
He was, yeah, yeah. And it was a low cat couple of years. Eventually, I finally did catch something. When Jorma,
Hmm.
I had had all my gear stolen,
Oh,
except
wow.
for like one snare and one trap, and it
Oh,
was
wow.
on Christmas Day that it got stolen.
Wow.
This was in like oh, I got to do the math. This might have been in 2007.
Oh, man.
I checked my gear on Christmas Eve and then the day after Christmas. And whoever stole my stuff, they were a trapper. Because looking back at it now, they looked in places that I would set gear, like
Oh,
blind
wow.
sets.
Yep.
Yeah. Uh, they didn't just take the cat traps from the cubbies. They
Yep.
took their stick and jammed it around in other places where today I might try to hide a trap or a
Oh,
snare.
oh, that,
So on Trapperman, the trapping forum,
yeah.
there's a page where Alaska is, and I posted on there, hey, someone from here, if you stole my crap from you know where, just hang it by where you know I park.
Yeah.
And and I never found my stuff, but
Oh.
there was a bunch of people on there who sent me gear.
Oh, wow.
Bunch grizzled old bastards who sent me gear. And Jorma says, "Hey, take some of that gear, come over here."
Oh, cool.
And he helped me set some traps, and I got my first two links
Oh, nice.
on ground. Jorma helped me set up. It was
That's
fan
cool.
freaking tastic.
That is very cool. Yeah. Yeah. He seems like a really cool guy.
He's
Him and
awesome.
Amanda both.
Oh yeah, good peoples. We used to hang out at their fish camp on the Yukon back when you could have a fish camp.
Right. Okay. Yeah, man. I had a cool conversation with them last time. Actually, last time I did one of these was with them. So
Yeah, I
that was pretty
listened.
cool.
It was good stuff.
Oh, did you? Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a YouTube channel, right?
Yep, Temples, Longtails, and Fur,
Okay.
where I try to share bits about. Look, so there's Alaska TV shows, right?
Yeah.
That show either the best of or the worst of,
True.
and it's yeah, but there's the rest of the 99.5% of people living in Alaska that you know, live in town but still try to live like you ought to when you live in Alaska. And it's, you know, trying to share everyday living, hauling water. Even though I live in town, we got an underground water tank.
Okay.
Playing baseball with my kids, taking my kids hunting, fishing, trapping.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Nice.
It's just trying to put a window into the rest of Alaskan life.
Yeah. Yeah. So what inspired you initially to start that?
Trying to sell my mud motors.
Okay.
And,
Oh, yeah. Fair.
My first video is like a minute and a half of using my first longtail mud motor in town on the Chena. And I didn't have any ballast in that freighter canoe. The bow is like 5 feet out of the water.
Oh.
If a boat had come by, I'd have probably died.
Yeah.
It's just stupid. Like looking back at that and so many other things me and my buddies did as a kid. Well, one of them did. He did die, but
Oh, wow.
yeah, just the fact that more of us didn't is ridiculous.
Oof. Oh, man. Yeah, that sounds tragic.
Well, you know, when he tried to take a BMX bike down a set of stairs in Sitka at Edgecombe.
Oh.
Anybody that's been to Mount Edgecombe knows the stairs. But there's upper campus and lower campus,
Mm-hmm.
and there's, you know, it's like 4 stories of stairs. I don't know exactly. I never thought about it real hard, but there's 3 or 4 different landings and direction changes. And he didn't make it all the way down.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, that's tragic. Yikes.
Yeah. I forgot where I was going with. Oh, selling my first video is of my first longtail on a freighter canoe.
Yep.
And moose in the yard, going hunting and fishing with the mud motors, and then hunting, fishing, and trapping and baseball.
Yeah, so in one of those videos, I didn't watch all of those, of course, but just a
Ooh,
couple.
that's all right. There's a lot.
Yeah, there are. But just get a feel. I thought it was kind of cool. You were asking your kids what's their favorite and least favorite hunt. So I thought
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
ask. I thought I'd ask you. So what's your favorite and least favorite hunt?
Okay. There's a lot of good ones, and there's more bad ones than good ones
Okay.
because they're like, you know, oh, so the bad one that comes to mind, I refer to it as my worst successful hunt.
Okay.
It was my second moose. My first moose I got on opening day. It made me think way too highly of
Yeah.
myself. All I did was motor up the river in my freighter canoe with Jackass lift and Honda 8-horse.
Hmm.
That's all I did, and there's a 30 summer standing there right by the water's edge, and he kept standing there.
Nice.
That's all he did. I couldn't shoot him from the boat because I couldn't get still enough,
Oh yeah.
so I hit the beach on the other side, and he kept standing there, and I knocked him over and brought
Nice.
him home. Brought him home on September 2nd, and that's stupid, pure, dumbass luck that I thought I could replicate the next year.
Right.
And me and a buddy, we went out there, four-wheeling in the mornings, boating up from in that same area in the evenings, and she had to go back to work. So I didn't want to fight upriver
Yeah.
again by myself with the freighter. So I went up the river by to a bridge with the vehicle. My family dropped me off, and I told them when to meet me back at that boat launch. It was cold. It was freezing. I didn't have a mattress. I didn't have a cot. I put spruce boughs on the ground under the tent, and I was freaking cold. It was so damn cold I couldn't even have a beer. It was awful. And I didn't get anything during the time I took off from work. My family wasn't there that evening. I told them to be there, so I spent another cold ass night in the tent instead of the camper in the truck.
Oh man.
And then I had to go back to work.
Yeah.
So I go back to work my days, and this was when the season closed in that area on the 20th.
Okay.
So I had my 4 days of work, and then I had a 3-day weekend, and I go back to the same area. The family drops me off from the truck upriver, and it was rainy. It wasn't as cold, but I had a cot and a mattress, and
Yep.
I was more comfortable. So the boat had more heavy crap in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like an hour from when my family's supposed to meet me at the boat launch, and I'm nowhere near the boat launch.
Oh no.
And I can see a clearing off the side of the river, this long straight way of river, willows on the gravel bar, and the trees. There was an opening in the trees back there, and I think to myself, I gotta go see what's back there. So I hit the beach, walk in there, and I'm trying to be quiet and listen. And I trip over this bundle of dead dry willows, nearly fell on my wife's gun. And I'm pissed. I'm so freaking angry. I'm stomping the willows and cursing. And I hear this crash, just oh. And I look over, and there's this 48 and change moose,
Oh.
like walking right at me, blowing air. Ugh. Ugh. He heard me rattling and thought, I'm going to go kick that guy's ass.
Yep.
And he wasn't 40 yards away from me, walking right at me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die.
Right.
And he turns a little, and I shoot him once in the shoulder because
Right.
he was quartering to me a little. And he jumps. And my tunnel vision went away after he jumped, and I could see the little moose. And I thought, God dang it, I should have shot that one. And then I see the cow that they're performing for, and the big moose I shot, he clears this literal. He went rocking back
Yep.
and forth, and he was walking away from the boat. And I go, oh
Oh.
crap, I gotta shoot him again.
Yep.
And he stops walking after the second shot, and he's coughing and trying to keep hunting.
Yep.
And he lays down, and he's still raking his antlers on the willows as he lays down. And the little bull, he thinks, right, come here, baby. He laid down.
Yep.
He ain't no, and she keeps kicking him off. They walk around me all night as I cut that big bastard up.
Holy cow.
And it wasn't until after dark I get him in the boat, and I'm thinking, no matter what, I gotta go. My family's at the boat launch. I gotta get down. I gotta.
Yep.
So after I get the last piece in the boat, I sit on the bow of the boat, turn my headlamp off, and think, I ain't dying like this. I can't. That's stupid.
Right.
So I set up my cot by a fire and got a little bit of sleep.
Nice.
And pushed that heavy overloaded boat into the river. And it was full of jagged rocks and log jams, and I'm bouncing off the rocks, scraping, pulling that poor canoe over the sharp rocks, bouncing off of logs. And I was in neoprene waders, and I'm getting in and out of the boat to drag it over the shallows. And I'm thinking to myself, man, that's a lot of water in the bottom of this boat. I hope that's coming off my waders. It wasn't. That boat was,
no.
Yeah. So I get near the boat launch, and there's a cabin and people living there. And I ask them if I can use their satellite phone and call my wife. And she was worried as hell. She had people coming out to look for me. And I hang out with those guys there. They feed me homemade clam chowder, liverwurst sandwiches. And when we're full and rested, I gave him a piece of meat. I floated by. I was like, hey, you got a satellite phone? Yeah. If I give you a piece of meat, can I use the satellite phone? Yeah, come on over. When we get back to the boat, my buddies that my wife had called to come get me, Pete and Jason Buse, all my crap was loaded up on their ATV trailer.
Oh,
that was so freaking awesome!
Nice.
They get there, and they told me this later. We showed up at the end of the road there, and we're like, "Where the hell's Temple? This is his boat. Where is he? Where'd that? We thought we were gonna have to rescue him, and where the hell is he?" And I show up on the four-wheelers with those people that live there, and they're like, yeah, you're over there eating clam chowder and liverwurst sandwiches. I'm loading your shit onto this trailer. What the hell?
Couldn't have been more perfect.
Oh yeah, I showed up just as they finished tying everything down. It was great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That was my worst successful one. Let's see. My best hunts, the ones that I remember the fondest, are little bitty hunts where my kids shot stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember my kids' birthdays, but I can walk you to the trees, the spruce trees in the spruce forest, where my sons each shot their first grouse.
Right. Yeah.
My daughter, she hasn't, like, when it was the two boys, they're older. We went on big family hunting trips. There was one we went caribou hunting. Me, my wife, oldest kid who was, I don't know, 5 or 6. And then the middle kid, he was the youngest at the time. He was at the tail end of diapers.
Yep.
We were in the boat, and we had all 4 or 5 dogs with us.
Yeah.
3 Chihuahuas and 2 real dogs. It was awful. And every time the boat slowed down, we'd fish. So little kid, every time the boat slowed down, he'd grab his pole and throw his jig in the water.
Yeah.
And the one caribou we found on that trip, we drove the boat 100 miles up and down the damn river.
Yep.
And we had a spot where we were camped at the lower end of what I refer to as caribou country.
Okay.
The edge of where it's flat and then starts getting hilly.
Yeah. And
in the evening, we're driving up from camp, watching fishing, and there's this little bitty caribou, like it I don't 2 years old maybe. It had this itty bitty rack on it, and we're looking at it. And at that time, that spot was a bull only hunt. It's gone back and forth, but that time it was a bull only hunt. And I'm looking at this caribou, trying to see a penis sheath on its belly. It's not showing us its back end. And dogs are barking, babies crying because we're not letting them fish when we slow down.
Yep.
And I decide that that's not a bull, and I'm not screwing around, not
Yeah.
playing that game.
Yeah.
And I give the motor gas, and we're trying to drive up the river, and my wife says, "Hey, it's peeing," and there's a stream of pee going forward from its belly, like, oh,
Okay.
dead caribou right
Yep.
there.
He's a bull.
Yeah, that one. It was so small. The inner loins were like hot dog size,
Oh.
but damn, it tasted good.
I bet. I bet it did. Probably real tender.
Oh, it was very tender. We fried back straps. You could cut them with a fork.
Oh, nice. Oh, wow. And with the dogs too, that's an accomplishment all in one boat.
Oh, it was awful. It was awful. There was no room in that boat at all.
Yeah.
I don't know how we expected to shoehorn. Like, we only got the one, but we had tags for several. I don't
Right.
know
What the plan was.
So,
Yeah, you
yeah.
just jump out there and figure it out. So you mentioned earlier your grandpa and all the things that he saw and kind of the end of that one era transitioning to the new era, and what you wish you could have talked to him more. If you could talk to him or any of those, the old people, what kind of questions would you ask him?
Well, so hanging out with him when I was younger, and some of the men, they sometimes they don't respond to questions. I you'd have to you'd have to be real careful how you did it. I don't know. Like, there were lots of superstitions that I might not have been privy to.
Oh,
Like, looking back at it, and I've learned about this since. You don't say what you're hunting. You just say, we're gonna go have a look around. And
oh,
you don't say what you're hunting, because they might hear you and go hide.
oh, okay.
Another one was, you don't say kill, you say caught. And I've struggled to articulate that one over the years. Kill is a harsh word.
Yeah,
So we say caught, or I started using the word harvest. Other people use
Sure.
that word, and people talk crap about it. What are you, a farmer?
Yeah.
No, I'm not a farmer. You wacko!
Right.
What the hell? I'm not into agriculture.
Yeah.
That's for you white people.
I love it.
Ah,
That's awesome.
it's so. If I could just go back and understand what the hell he was saying in Yupik when he was BSing with his contemporaries, that's what I would do. I wouldn't ask him a damn thing.
Okay.
I wish I could just understand what him and the other old men were BSing about and remembering.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Very cool. And Yupik language, is that spoken much anymore, or is it kind of
Yeah, it might even be having a resurgence. People
okay?
might have, because I hate using terms like generational trauma,
Sure.
but I don't think it's something that can be denied.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine some strangers showing up and saying something like, "Hey, look, man, you're dancing. That's devil worship.
Yeah.
And if you don't stop that, and if you don't convert, you're gonna burn in hell. You're gonna die and burn in hell."
Right.
And then the Spanish influenza shows up, and most of everybody
Oh.
dies. You could look at that and be like, "Holy crap!
Yeah.
The missionaries were right."
Right.
And so, I mean, I'm not that old, but the adults I grew up around, they were still stories about being smacked in the mouth for speaking your Yupik in class.
Oh, wow.
The man that I got my Yupik, the way Yupik names work, it's sort of like reincarnation,
Okay.
sort of. So I was born July 87.
Mm-hmm.
And in 87, before July, a man named Adauquachuk passed away. And I can't remember how he passed. He wasn't very old. So a whole bunch of us born around that time in 87 are named Adauquachuk.
Okay.
And one of the stories I heard about him was when he was in school. Let's say he was 40 in
Yeah.
87. Let's just say that he was 40 and 87. So let's say in the 50s, he was in school, and this preacher, this teacher, one or the other, or both,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember, is droning on in English on the subject, and that Dauchahuk leans over to his classmate and in Yupik says, "Hey, do you understand what's going on?" And his classmate says, I don't know what's going on. And the teacher walks up to Dauchahuk and slaps him on the mouth for speaking Yupik. And that Dauchahuk reached up, grabbed this guy by the collar of his shirt, and bounces him on the floor like a basketball.
Okay, yeah.
So when you deal with that, it could be kind of hard to pass on Yurak, the native dance.
Yeah.
And I think more people my age are teaching their kids Yupik, and they learned it either because their parents taught them or they taught themselves.
Yeah.
Like my cousins from Manicotic, they speak Yupik.
Okay.
Because their mom, my auntie, and her husband, and their grandparents on their dad's side taught them Yupik.
Yeah. So the Yupik language, is it mostly used in that southwest region of Alaska?
Western Alaska. There's
Okay.
a couple of different shades of it.
Yeah.
Like in Bristol, there's the Bristol Bay dialect, and then there's a region on the lower Yukon where it's Chupik. There's where Yupiks have Y, the Chupiks have the CH sound.
Okay.
And good speakers from either one can make themselves understood.
Yeah.
It's like imagine Alaska English and then frickin' Southern.
Yeah.
Which if you can get them guys to slow down a little bit, they are actually speaking English.
Yeah, so I'm told.
But anyway, so Western Alaska, say from the northern part of the Alaska Peninsula up to near East Nome.
Okay.
Nome, Nunam Ikwa, that area just south of the Seward Peninsula.
Yeah.
That's sort of border country between Inupiaq and Yupik.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Any relation between that and then the language or languages mainly used in the rest of Alaska, or are they pretty distinct?
So Yupik and Inupiaq have some similarities, and then Yupik and Alutiiq have a few similarities. And then there's the interior languages, like the umbrella is Athabascan.
Okay.
But some of them get a little bristly. They get a little bristly if you don't sort them out into like Gwich'in and Dena'ina and Han and Tanana.
Okay.
And the Athabascan languages are not as close to Yupik and Inupiaq as Yupik and Inupiaq are to each other. They're, I guess, linguistically, they're closely related to some of them southern natives like Apache and Navajo.
Oh, okay. Okay. Huh.
And so if you look at like the umbrella of Athabasca, that goes from interior Alaska to like northern New Mexico, or I guess. I don't know. I just read that somewhere.
Yep. Okay, that's fascinating. That's a topic I haven't looked into much. I don't know really anything about the local languages, but definitely a fascinating topic.
Oh, I wish I cared about it more. It is pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds like it. So, well, cool. So next thing for you is you're rolling into beaver season here.
Yeah, I gotta go get some beef, and I got some in the freezer from last year, and I need to get them fleshed too. There's just so much crap to do.
Yeah.
I got trailers to fix, snow machines to put away, boats to wake up.
Always something.
Always something.
Thanks for listening to the Arctic Archives. If you enjoyed this episode, a rating or review helps the show reach more people. And if you have a story of your own you'd like to share, I'd love to hear it. You can reach me by emailing contact@arcticarchivespodcast.com. Until next time.